And when you service your homeowners, the money is going to follow. You're building that relationship and you're building that network and you're building that connection with your homeowner, that over time, that homeowner will not know anything else but to use you as their roofer. The money will always follow as long as you service your homeowners. And guess what? The money does follow. Trust me, it does. But you got to do the first step first. Downpouring rain, we're out there picking out colors. That's the other thing. When you're going to that elite level, there's no rain days, people. Guys, if a homeowner's ready to sign, what do? Shut up.
All right, so one thing I want to note, when I followed Dan for a day to see how he did it, how he was such a high performer, one thing I noted was the presumptive close. Because he helped me sell my first roof. So I saw the roof with Dan, and he basically went up to the homeowner right beforehand, and he was like, hey, just let him sell you this one, you know what I mean? Like, he basically was like, just let him, you know what I mean? And that level of confidence, and that level, like, he's a guide for the homeowner. It just really, like, it stuck with me. And every once in a while, I feel a little Dan energy. And I hope you guys can feel a little Dan energy today and take it with you. Because it's some really motherfucking great energy.
Let's go.
All right, y'all.
So I'm not as professional at speaking as the other guys, and those are some tough acts to follow, but I'm coming at it at a different angle here. We've had owners of companies, we've had some high-level people up there that are scaling and things like that. I'm going to come to you guys as a sales rep, all right? I'm going to come to you as a sales rep that's been doing this for 26 years, and I've been doing 25 years where I've been over $2.5 million every year. That's called consistency. And there's ways to do that, and I'm gonna touch a little bit on this with you guys today, help you a little bit getting your cash flow going. That's why we're here. That's why Tim asked me to be here and talk to you guys a little bit about it today. Feel like I'm a little bit not on the same level as a lot of these guys that are speaking up here, but we'll give it a shot, right? So a little bit about me, kind of my back history of how I got in this. 26 years ago, I graduated college as a physical education, health, and fitness teacher. I had a job lined up. I was going to go be a school teacher, and I was going to be a gym teacher down in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I had it all set up. I was hired. I was ready to go. A buddy of mine, I call my mentor, Jim Johnson. If any of you know Jim Johnson, Contractors Coach Pro. He's been fighting with me for 2 years during school about having me come sell roofs. Guys, I was a 19, 20-year-old kid, and he says, hey, yeah, you just go sell these roofs. The insurance is going to cover it, da-da-da. I'm like, I fought him tooth and nail saying, dude, I'm not going to knock on doors and sell people vacuums. I don't do that stuff. That's not me. I'm not going to do it. You know, I would hate it if somebody came and knocked on my door. The part that changed me is when he looked at me and he said, the difference is you're not selling a want, you're selling a need. And I'm like, I don't get it. What do you mean selling a need? And then he explained the process to me. I was still a little hesitant. And he explained to me the money you can make. Back then, everybody was a 1099. There was no W-2. So the draws, things like that, just so you guys understand, my draw was $0. And I didn't make money until 2 months into the business. So I spent a lot of money trying to make money without knowing if I could make money, if you guys understand any of that. So he's like, yeah, you'd have a good time doing this. I still kept my job. I'm like, I talked it over with my wife. We met at Copper Kettle in River Falls. And he pitched me until finally I'm like, whatever, man, I'll give it a shot. Fine. I got nothing going on for 3 months before I start coaching and teaching. So I jumped in my white Ford Taurus with a wooden ladder, the same that State Farm used to have, if any of you know that. And I had hail damage on my car from a storm that we had previously that I didn't even know hail damage was hail damage. And back when we used to storm chase, we drove to Appleton, Wisconsin, and we chased the storm. Again, you guys got to understand, I had no idea what I was doing. I've never done this. The first time I knew anything about storm chasing is I'm living in a microtel in Appleton, Wisconsin. All right? We went out there. The first roof I got on, I'll never forget this to the day I die, Vicky Gaster, first one I've got. Jim put me on the roof and he said, measure it. That was my training. And so when I said measure, he said measure, I'm like, measure it? What are you talking about? So I'm up on top of that roof, no joke, guys, for an hour and a half on a straight gable roof, trying to measure this roof. I measured every single thing about this roof. He comes back after his dentist appointment, and he goes, no, 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 you're doing it all wrong. You can do it just like this. Boom, 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 and in freaking 3 minutes it was measured. I'm like, oh, all right. So the point of the story that I'm trying to tell you guys is, I get that question every single time. Is it harder or easier now to be a roofer, right? Is there a lot more roofing companies and a lot more roofers out there now? Yes. Is it easier now? Well, the technology that we give, my man, Jake, that was just up here, said all I had to do was diagram my roof and he gives me everything. Well, we had to do everything back then. So, but with that, I think I learned a work ethic and a mentality that a lot of our sales reps nowadays don't have. And what I'm going to try to teach you guys is give you a few golden nuggets on how to get your revenue up that I use. Take it for what it's worth. You're welcome to use them. Some people do, some people don't. Those that have listened to me and that I've spoke at plenty of conferences, plenty of roofing companies. Those that use it are making, $250,000, $500,000 a year every year, consistency. So that was a little bit my story. So I got into that, and then eventually I owned my own company for 13 years, made a lot of money doing that. My kids started growing up. I promised my wife that I wouldn't storm chase, I wouldn't travel anymore, I'd be there for my kids, The rest is history. So, but I'm going to go over a few things here, little qualifications of why I'm standing in front of you guys today. I'm going into my 26th now. I've been a licensed insurance adjuster for 23 years, HAG certified. I also am a licensed general contractor. I owned an $8 to $12 million company for 10 plus years, and various things. I've been every part of the sales process, production process, owner process. I've been in every shoe, so I get everything on that. Something I would tell people too is educate yourself. You guys, this is so important. And the biggest note, I'm going to throw out 3 or 4 golden nuggets throughout the process I'm going to talk to you before we get to the Q&A. One of the golden nuggets I'm going to tell you guys right now is you need to treat this job, and this is directly more toward the sales reps and the owners, but you need to treat this job as your career and not treat this job as your job. That mindset is tough for people to understand. Because what people understand is they think, oh, I'm going to work, especially people that are getting paid draws now that have to this is my job, this is what I'm going to do. Treat it as your career. Because if you treat it as your career, you're not going to be so focused on the money, you're going to be focused on servicing your homeowners. And when you service your homeowners, the money is going to follow. You're building that relationship and you're building that network and you're building that connection with your homeowner, that over time that homeowner will not know anything else but to use you as their roofer or their side or gutters, whatever you use. So what I did is I started learning about 10, 12 years ago that the way to be a better roofer is I've got to educate myself to provide more value to that homeowner, right? And to provide more value for myself. And that's why I go ahead and what I try to do every year is I try to pinpoint 3 to 5 different things where I can get educated farther than what I'm already at. So for example, last year I went to an NOAA storm spotter class for 3 days. And I got storm spotter certified. Now, being a sales rep, if my area gets hit with a hailstorm, do you think I'm going to contact NOAA and let them know my area got hit with a hailstorm? No, I don't want everybody chasing there. But I educated myself in understanding the process of how that works. I didn't understand AccuWeather, all those different spots that have where the hailstorm hit. So I understood that. So I went to class. That cost me all of $0 to go through that class. Guys, it's free. You can take those classes anytime you want. We'll go a little bit farther here. Hold on a second. So we developed a unique approach, treating sales not just as a business, but as a game, where the key to success lies in investing in yourself and mastering that skill. My philosophy revolves around creating opportunities, building strong relationships, and controlling your own schedule, leading to an impressive career spanning over 2 decades and achieving remarkable milestones. That's my innovative approach. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on the 5 C's that I was taught 25 years ago. And it's funny because I bring these up to Jim, my mentor, about the 5 C's that I was taught. He doesn't even remember them, which is hilarious to me because this is what I've stuck by for 26 years in the business that I followed, that to this day is why I really truly believe that I'm at the position in my life where I'm at where, could I own a company? Sure. Could I be a manager for a lot of different companies out there? Sure. But I really, truly enjoy being a salesman, and I don't care what anybody's going to tell you. I think the best position in a company is the salesman. And the reason I believe that, and I truly, heartfully believe that, is I set my own schedule, and I don't have the responsibility and the stress that ownership has. I was an owner for 12 years. Randy, Tony, Ian, I know the responsibility and the stress that you guys have. It's immense. And as a sales rep, it's my responsibility to at least make it not so stressful for you guys, for me. So that's my job. So the 5 C's of roofing, once we roll through these 5 C's, then I'm gonna open it up to Q&A. Most of the time the reason I don't do an hour-long straight presentation is because I'm gonna give you 100% of knowledge and stuff that you can have. But reality is, you're gonna only digest 3% of it. You're gonna walk out the door and you're probably not gonna listen to half the stuff I say anyway. I think there's more value in discussing what we're gonna do as regards to a Q&A of how I've done it for 25 years, how the 5 C's work for me, how I did $18.5 million residential in 1 year in this market. If anybody's in this market, they understand there's 4 months of this market, we don't even get to work hardly, right? So that's $18.5 million in eight months. There's usually a billion questions on that, and that's why we're gonna open up the Q&A on that part of it. So the 5 C's real quick. Creating opportunities. And what I mean by creating opportunities, I mean you gotta set yourself apart from everybody else out there, right? You guys know as well as I do, we're in a market in Minneapolis, just like in Denver, just like in Dallas, just like in Chicago, where there's a lot of roofing companies. And if a storm hits in an area, let's say a storm hits in Eagan, Minnesota, and it's a 2.5-inch storm, by the time you get out there, guess what? Everybody else is too, right? By the time you put a flyer on that door, guess what? There's 30 of them on there already. And just like in Denver and every other market, homeowners know the game. They understand how this process works, people, right? Understand that. You have to set yourself apart from everybody else, right? And how do you do that? How are you gonna set yourself apart? There's various ways. I learned 8-9 years ago, the way to set myself apart is I need to be part of my community first. And I don't remember, I think it was Randy, somebody said that about the community. Guys, that is so important about setting yourself in the community. Being proud of the brand you work for. Let everybody know what you do. In my community, I am the 8th grade head football coach. In my community, I'm on the PTA. In my community, I run security for the Booster Day Carnival. In my community, I do Toys for Tots at 2 local churches. In my community, I'm part of the BNI group. In my community, with Tony's help, we put up scoreboards for the youth football program with our name right on it. And when Randy was talking earlier about investing into that community, if you invest into the community, guess what? That community is going to invest back into you. And people ask to this day, man, how'd you do 18.5? How'd you do 18.5? Man, that's just nonstop running. Guys, the only way I did $18.5 million in a year is I planted that seed 9 years ago, 10 years ago in that community. And when that storm hit, guys, it was just flowering is all it is. And I'll say this to blue in the face. 37 seconds after that storm hit in Hudson, Wisconsin, no joke, my phone did not stop ringing for 3 months. To the point where I couldn't even bring my phone to job sites. I would literally hand my phone over to my wife, and I would give her that phone, and she would be constantly answering phone calls, setting schedules, setting cul-de-sac signings, it was crazy. She would set all my appointments. She'd put them in my appointment book. From 4 o'clock in the morning, I was doing color meetings at 4 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. It was constantly every half hour, 45 minutes either. I had a inspection, I had an adjuster appointment, I had a color meeting, something for 3.5 straight months. I don't think I saw Tony, I don't think I saw you for 3.5 months. Everything was just shot over via Acculinks, and everything was crazy. I had tunnel vision. And there's a way I got to that, and that's something that we're going to talk about when we do Q&A, is because there's only one way that you guys are going to do over $6.5–7 million, okay? And I can tell you that right now. You got to have everybody in your household invested in what you do. Because if you're battling your significant other in that household, or if your kids and everybody else aren't on the same page as you, you're not going to hit those numbers. I can tell you this right now, because they had to be all in. And this is something that we sat down the night of that storm as a family, and we made a decision as a family. Are we all in or not? Because if they weren't in, I wasn't going to do it. Because there's no way that I'm going to be getting a phone call at 4:30, 5 o'clock at night from my wife saying, hey, are you going to be home for dinner? And I say no, and she get pissed off at me, right? She needed to understand I was going to miss birthdays. I was going to miss 4th of July. I was going to miss Sundays. I was going to miss baseball games. I was going to miss so many other things that happened that summer with the dividends that's going to happen at the end of the year, right? Remember what I talked to you guys? The money will always follow as long as you service your homeowners. And guess what? The money does follow. Trust me, it does. But you got to do the first step first. And that's what I mean by creating your opportunities. Controlling your schedule. That's another thing that's very important. A lot of people don't do this, especially as sales reps. Owners take into effect on this one for sales reps. When I say control your own schedule, what I mean by that is throughout the entire process of that job, you have to control your schedule. Don't let anybody else control it. Adjusters, homeowners, you have to control it. And when I mean by controlling your schedule, a prime example of that is I can count at least 15 different times where I did 4 o'clock in the morning color meetings with homeowners, right? How many homeowners would be happy about doing a 4 o'clock in the morning color meeting? Not a lot. But guess what I did? I made it a game. I said, listen, the only time I got open is at 4 o'clock. Oh, in the afternoon? Nope, in the morning. They'd look at me, pause in a second, and said, but I'll bring the donuts. Don't worry about it as long as you have the coffee. You know? And I'd make it a game. I'd never had a person say no, but it's crazy when you show up at a person's house at 3:45 in the morning, because I'm always 15 minutes early for everything, and they're walking out in their robe and a coffee, and I'm sitting on my tailgate sometimes during the summer. In the middle, it's dark out, and we're picking out shingle colors on my tailgate. It's freaking nuts. Downpouring rain, we're out there picking out colors. That's the other thing. When you're going to that elite level, there's no rain days, people. You just make it work. Get an umbrella, right? You make it work. You constantly, tunnel vision, you roll with it. You roll with it. And it's called work ethic, and some of us have it, and some of us have to get it real quick if you want those elite numbers, cash flow numbers. Compete with yourself and others. What I mean by that is set yourself goals and habits. I hear all the time people, oh, I've got a yearly goal. I've got my yearly goal, my 5-year goal. This is my 5-year goal. I try to tell people, I was like, why do you set your goals so far out? I set daily goals. I have 3 goals a day that I have to reach every single day. I wake up in the morning, go work out, and as I'm working out riding a bike, I'm sitting there I'm writing my 3 goals for the day that I have to do. All right? And that could be work, that could be whatever you want to do, leisure, whatever, but you have to hit those 3 goals. And in hitting those 3 goals, if you do that 6 days a week, Sundays are my chill out day with the family. But if you hit that 6 days a week, you're hitting 18 goals a week, times that by a month, you're at 72 goals that you're hitting that month. You're going to hit your monthly goal. And if you hit your monthly goal, your yearly goal is sure to follow. One of the goals I always do, this is one of those golden nuggets I tell people, I'm a freaking dinosaur in this business, so I'm going to tell you guys, one of the things I do every single year, and it's going to be funny, if I would have drove my truck, I'd show you, but one of the things I do every single year is I write a 100-job checklist. Yes, I said write it out, hand. I have a 100-job checklist that I leave in the console of my truck that every single time I sign a homeowner up and get them ready to go, I write that homeowner down and what trades I'm doing in my truck. People are like, oh, you could easily do that on computer. You could have that ready there. But it's not in front of me, right? And the reason I do a 100-job checklist is when I first started, an average job was $7,000 to $10,000, all right? That's what an average job was. Who can tell me what the average job is today as a roof? About 20, well, ours at Bill Strong is about $24,000, $25,000 job, all right? Roof, gutters, whatever, so be it, right? But back then, your average job was 7 to 10. So if I had a 100-job checklist, and I usually get pretty good numbers on my jobs, let's say it's 10,000, and I got a 100-job checklist, back then, what does that make me? $1 million rep, right? And our goal back 25 years ago was to be $1 million rep. Everybody said, hey, I've got $1 million rep, I've got $1 million rep, here you go. Well, in doing that, obviously with inflation and things like that and jobs going up, now my 100 jobs, if I've got 25, what does that make me? A $2.5 million rep, right? So you should never be under 2.5. I don't care if you have a storm or no storm, you should always be at that 100 jobs. And I grind and I push so hard to get to that 100 jobs that anything above and beyond that 100 jobs now is just gravy. That's just fun now. Now we're having a blast, right? But if you chase so hard to get that 100 jobs, what are you doing for yourself? You're building a what? You're building a pipeline now, right? You've chased so hard to get that 100 jobs that those 100 people are going to do what for you? Create more jobs for you. And now your pipeline's going to roll. And once your pipeline rolls, and those sales reps have been doing this long enough, Bethke, you guys can attest, Dylan, you can attest, when your pipeline rolls and it gets fun and your confidence level is at an extreme high, guys, those homeowners are no longer, you're not walking in there going, oh man, I hope I signed this one. You're walking in there like when Tim went out with me, you're walking in there, that job's already assumed that I've got it signed and ready to go. And if you walk in with that type of swagger and that type of confidence, and I'm not saying being egotistical and being, like that. I'm saying with the swagger and the confidence, knowing that there is nobody else that's going to take care of that homeowner, that's going to service that homeowner better than I am. And I'm going to make sure I let that homeowner know it, right? And if you go in there with that, guys, it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. And so that's what I mean by competing with yourself in that. And consistency. We say it until we're blue in the face again. Consistency. There's going to be days you're going to go out and pound doors. You're going to knock on 300 doors. And you might not get one person, right? And you're going to feel like shit, and you're going to be like, man, this sucks. I hate this. I'll never do it again, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be doors that go out there, and you knock on 25 doors, and you get 5 people. It just happens that way, right? Stay consistent with yourself. I tell people all the time, sales reps, the easiest way to stay consistent, the easiest way to keep a smile on your face, instead of going out there and chasing the yeses, go chase the no's. See if you can go out there and get 100 no's in a day. Write them down. Say, hey, I got 100 no's today. Because what's going to happen is you're going to chase that 100 no's, and you know what's going to happen? You're going to trip over a what? A yes. But as long as you have a smile on your face and you keep that mentality, you keep that attitude going that, hey, I'm going to chase the no's and have a smile on your face doing it, your mindset's going to change. You're going to go, hey, I'm chasing the no's, and shit, I got one. And then once you get one, you stake your sign. Who's the easiest person to sign up then? The next door neighbor. Then boom, you're going to trip over the next one. Guys, you make it a game out there. Have fun, right? I pride myself. I never leave a street. I never leave a street unless I have to. Those that have known me that are doing this business that I put through AccuLinks and through jobs, I will never leave a street unless I get 2. That's the game plan. More is great, but never leave 2. Challenges that are obtainable. This is funny to me because I see people all the time sit out there and put, well, my goal this week is I want to sign up 20 people this week. And I'm like, why are you so concerned about signing people up? We all know that the way to do this business is it doesn't care how many you sign up. That doesn't mean shit. How many do you get approved? Who here uses AccuLinks? I'm going to just throw it up. All right, you guys know what Green A approved is? We're on Green A, ready to build. How you make money in this business is when it's ready to build. How you don't make money in this business is just going out signing 20 people up and throwing spaghetti against the wall to see if it sticks, right? A lot of owners might not like what I say all the time, but guys, what I try to do is I try to pride myself. If I can get 2 to 5 Green A approves a week, every week throughout the season, that's going to give me over 100 jobs and $2.5 million every single time. So I chase the Green A approves. I chase 2 to 5. Job could be a $5,000 gutter job, or it could be a $50,000 roof and siding job. It doesn't matter. It's still a job. But if you chase those Green A approves, trust me, your owners are going to be happy. So that's a little bit on that. I mean, I could go all day long on this stuff. But what I want to do is I know that we've got about 35 minutes. What I want to do is if I need to go into more slides, I will. But I want to go into a little bit of Q&A because there's a billion questions for sales reps that have. And I run a monthly webinar on my gobeyondthehustle.com to answer questions. And I get loaded and loaded and loaded down with questions. And so what I want to do is I want to open this up to you guys on questions that I can answer. And then we'll just feed off those questions and kind of keep it like an open dialogue. I know that a lot of people are up here and saying, hey, anybody got questions? Anybody got questions? And nobody raises their hand. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, The way to invest in yourself and the way to understand and learn more as you get older in this job and in this business. Again, I'm 26 years in. I don't know how many more people have been in longer than I have, but ask questions when people are presenting them so you can get those answers, because those are the nuggets you're going to get. So I'm going to open this up to questions. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
What's your go-to door pitch?
All right, you want to know my go-to door pitch? Those that know me, I can tell you right now. Here we go. I don't have one. All right? Do you know why I don't have one? Each house is different. Each homeowner is different. And guess what? I think the best salespeople out there are the salespeople that don't have pitches, that can read that homeowner, right? You can read that homeowner. I'm sure we all know what a 6-pack, an 8-pack, a 10-pack is, right? We all understand what that is. I can tell you my golden nugget of how I get an inspection 97% of the time on a 6-pack or 8-pack, if you want to know that. All right, you ready? Ian knows this one. I knock on the door. Hey, Mrs. Jones, just letting you know we're doing the roof next door. By the way, who's doing your roof? And then don't talk. The question she's going to ask you is, every single time, she's going to ask you this right here. Ready? Every time, what do you mean? Well, the Thompsons right next door are getting their roof approved by the insurance company. I assume you are too, so that's what I was wondering. What do you think the next thing she's going to say? I haven't even had mine looked at. Oh, well, I'm next door doing this one. You want me to jump up there and take a gander and let you know if you got the same damage that they have? Well, might as well. Boom, you're in. And then you're just a closer, right? I mean, we're all closers, right? That's an easy one. By the way, use that one. I'm telling you, it works perfectly. By the way, who's doing your roof? Because what you're doing, hold on one second, but what you're doing by doing that is you're letting them open that dialogue up back to you, asking you that question back. I have never had a homeowner say, no, get away from me. You know, I've always had them say, what do you mean? Happens every time. Oh, well, they're getting theirs taken by the insurance company. I'm here, you know, I can take a look at it for you now. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Dan's got a lot of pitches, right?
Oh, yeah, I've got.
That's what he's telling you is he's got a ton of pitches because he's got to get the roofing sale and he's got 15 or 20 of them. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I read that homeowner and I know which avenue I'm taking that homeowner. It's just like insurance adjusters, guys. I'm going to tell you right now that I do classes and I go around to different roofing companies. I can tell you right now, I work at a 96% close ratio with insurance companies on full approvals. I don't get half roofs. I don't get sloped. We're buying 6 vents. I don't get any of that. My shit's full approval. And the reason it's full approval is I've read that adjuster and I'm salesman to the homeowner. I'm salesman to the adjuster. I sell the entire time. I can tell you if that roof's getting approved on the driveway 90% of the time before we even touch that roof. Because I've already felt out with that adjuster what I'm going to do on that adjuster. How I'm going to sell that adjuster. Guys, you guys understand too is it's not something you just learn overnight. 25 years of doing this, you get good at reading people when you're with homeowners. Guys, if a homeowner's ready to sign, what do? Shut up. Don't say anything. Hand them the pen and let them go. The other thing on contingency contracts, what do you guys call contingency contracts? What do you call them? You call them what? Yep. I'll tell you what they're called. They're called insurance agreement form. Why are they called insurance? It gives me permission to pursue your best interest at a replacement of damaged property at a price agreed with the insurance company and us with no additional cost to you except your insurance deductible. It's an agreement that gives me permission to pursue your best interest. All right? But through that entire process, another thing. See, I'm throwing out nuggets here, guys. You should catch these things, right? When you do your inspections, I want to truthfully raise your hand. Who does your inspections with the homeowner also? Raise your hand. Also. Guys, you're losing 20 minutes of sell time with that home. I do every single one of them. When I go do my inspection, I knock on the door and I do an inspection. Would you like to see what we're looking at today? 90% of them say, hell yeah. You walk them around that house from that left corner as you're doing your scope assessment. You walk them around from your left corner all the way around that house. That gives me 20 minutes of undivided attention with that homeowner that by the time we're back to that corner, that signature is already golden. It may not written yet, but that's already done, right? And you know what also that does? It helps me feel out that homeowner. Is that a homeowner that I want to work for, that I want to work with? Guys, we've all dealt with those squirrels out there, haven't we? Right? That you're like, oh, this lady's great. She was an easy sign, blah, blah, blah. And then halfway through, it's like, son of a bitch, she's not paying anything. She's not doing this. And we knew it. We knew it from the beginning, right? We knew it from the beginning that this one's going to be a tough one, but I'm still going to sign it because I'm a sales rep and that's money in my pocket. All I'm doing is adding stress for the owner of the company going, well, this one's going to be a bitch, right? It's true, right? But we look at it as we're focused on the what? We're focused on the money. We're not focused on servicing the best interest of that homeowner. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I've come to a homeowner and I've said to him, you know, you and I just aren't a good fit. You know, here's a couple recommendations from other contractors that may be a better fit for you. And you should see the look on their face when you say that to them. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Happens all the time. Anything else? I know there's got to be a bunch of them. Go ahead.
Now that you have this many years of experience, like how often are you actually still pounding doors, or does your phone just ring?
Well, anybody that knows me can answer that question.
Literally in his truck with him one day, and somebody called and said, you sold me your roof 15 years ago. I need the new one.
Yeah, I do it every day. So winter months, we don't sell as much in the winter months, and that's why I'm speaking and I go to different companies and provide as much knowledge as I can do to help them out, the newer sales reps, because to be truthfully honest with you guys, sales reps sometimes don't want to hear it from your management, sometimes don't want to hear it from your leadership. They want to hear it from somebody out there knocking doors with them, somebody that's out there in the trenches. So that's what I've been doing lately, is literally going to different companies around the nation. I go there and I do I've got 50-some slides of how the entire process rolls through. And I roll through that. I've gone to Ian's here, and I run through that whole thing with their sales team. And then I go back out. I go out with a couple of their sales guys with appointments after 3 o'clock, and I'll knock doors with them and kind of listen to their pitches and listen how they sell and kind of critique them and help them sign somewhere else. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately during the winter months. But during the summer months, Monday through Friday, be honest with you guys, I sell $3 million. I don't work Saturdays and Sundays anymore, but what are our best days? We know Saturdays are, but 26 years in, I'm old. Go ahead, bud.
You talked a little bit about how you can represent the homeowner through the insurance process. What is it specifically that sets the roofs that you guys...
My close ratio with insurance?
Yeah, well, just like you've spoken a little bit about just your, I think, experience with insurance, but
Sure.
if you're selling a roof to a homeowner, what is it that sets your company apart?
I can tell you, number one thing, you just said what? Company, right? I'm going to tell you guys right now, you want a little trade secret? Don't sell your company. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Homeowners don't, sounds horrible, majority of homeowners don't give a shit about the company you work for. They care about the person standing in front of them, okay? You need to sell yourself above them all before you sell your company. I can tell you the reason I know this for 100% certainty is, let's say I've been working with this homeowner, right? I'm wearing my logoed shirt. I've got everything I've handed that homeowner, my insurance agreement form, everything I've given that homeowner says the company's name on top of it, correct? That homeowner's got everything. The sign in their front yard says the company name on it. The deductible check, the ECV check that they've paid me says the what? The company name on it. How many times has this happened to you where you've built such a relationship up with that homeowner by you're collecting that final check and you sit at that kitchen table with that homeowner and all of your paperwork is sitting in front of you and they look directly in your face and say, who do I write the check out to? And the reason they're asking that question is because you've built that confidence and that relationship up with that homeowner so well, that homeowner, if you told them, would write you a $30,000 check. That's when you know you've built that relationship up so well. So sell yourself. And I'm not saying that your company brand doesn't mean anything. It does, right? Be proud of where you work, be proud of what you do, and tell people about your company and get your referrals. But the first step in selling a homeowner is you got to sell yourself. Guys, this is sales 101. I mean, that homeowner's got to say, why do I choose you over you? Why? Because I provide more value than you. And how am I going to do that? Well, different things. Number one, what I do, and majority of the people don't do it, and I've probably preached this for the last 3 years, is on every job I do a scope assessment. How many people here do you guys even know what a scope assessment is? Raise your hand if you know what a scope assessment is. The people that I've done classes for, they know what scope is. Every single job I do that for. That makes me different than every single person out there that's doing a job. How many people can knock on a door and say, hey, I'm gonna go inspect for damage, I'll be back, I'm gonna bring some pictures down, kind of show you what we got for damage, and let you know if we qualify for a new roofing, right? So they go up there, they do their gig, they take some pictures, where's the homeowner? Sitting in their house, 8 times out of 10, they're thinking in their house, how am I gonna get rid of this guy, right? I mean, we're all in sales, we get it, right? That's what they're thinking. So you're going downstairs, well, Mrs. Jones, look at, this is what's on your roof, this is what we notice is damaged, right? Well, so did the other 15 people, right? How are you gonna set yourself different? I do mine different. I do my scope assessment with the homeowner. Mrs. Jones, I said, instead of me just going up there taking pictures and showing, I'm sure that you probably had 100 different people tell you that, why don't you come do the inspection with me? I can show you exactly what your insurance company is gonna look for that's gonna qualify you for storm damage. Let's start out here. What they're gonna do is they're gonna start on the left corner right here, right where I'm at. I said, unlike most roofing companies that come out here, I'm going to look for things that we may not do as your contractor, but you are entitled to get. For example, you see your landscape lights here. These are all busted. I don't do landscape lights, but that's gonna be on my scope assessment, so I'm gonna get that value back for you. Go out and get landscape light, I don't give a shit, do whatever you want with the money. But my job is to get that covered for you because I'm here for pursuing your best interest. Boom, I look at that. First thing I take them to every single time a homeowner is what? They're what? Where do they get their mail? First thing I take them to is their mailbox. She goes, nobody's ever pointed that out to me. What did I just do? Set myself what? Apart from everybody else. Second thing I take them to is, I tell them every single time, once I do that scope assessment, I have everything written down, then I go, Mrs. Jones, you're probably not gonna climb up on top of that roof. I'm gonna go up there, but you're welcome to sit there and watch me, and I can talk to you while I'm up here and kind of show you what we're doing. First thing I'm gonna look at is I'm gonna look at how many layers are on your roof. I'm gonna look at your gutters. I'm gonna look at your valley metal, your vents, things like that. That's called soft metals. Your insurance company is gonna look at those things first. See if there's any damage to that, because we know that you're not gonna have damage on top of your roof if you don't have anything on your metals or anything like that. Said, I'm not gonna make myself like an idiot up here. Boom. You're adding value to that homeowner. Throughout that process, when you're down off that roof and you've got your scope assessment, guys, if you're not a decent, I shouldn't even say good, if you're not a decent closer, those are easy signs if you've just walked them around for 20 minutes. But you have to do something that other people won't do. They won't spend the time to do it. They want to pop up, see if there's damage, pop down, go to the next one. Spend some time. Give them some value. And then the last golden nugget I'm going to give you right here, guys, and I do this on every single one of them, and it's hilarious, is that scope assessment I was talking to you about is the most valuable thing in your possession, all right? And this is why it's going to help sell you 90+% close ratio. So when you're on that driveway, real quick, when you do your insurance adjuster appointment, if you do an insurance adjuster appointment, who here does the adjuster appointment with you and just the adjuster? That's fine, raise your hand. Most people do. Every single adjuster appointment I do, and those that have rode me know, it's myself, the adjuster, and the homeowner on the driveway. Every single time. I've educated my homeowner. They know exactly what they're doing when we meet that adjuster appointment. If Tim's around here, Tim knows exactly what I'm talking about because he went with me on some adjuster appointments, and I had my homeowners educated to a T. We went to a State Farm adjuster, and it was gold. Perfectly gold. But we meet on that driveway, and here's what I do. That scope assessment that I have, this is how you limit your supplementing too. We were talking about how to reduce overhead and things like that. That, on my assessment, it's got everything that I want on that job covered. So what I do is I take that as the homeowners here and the adjusters here, hand it to the adjuster and say, this is what me and the homeowner noticed that was damage on the property. These are what our expectations are to get covered. Because does that adjuster give a shit about me? No. Who's he care about? Homeowner. And what's his number one job as an insurance adjuster? To close what? The claim. And if he's got his freaking cheat sheet right in front of him to close that claim, you got a much better shot at that thing getting taken care of than you do with pulling up to the driveway, the adjuster's already there with his ladder popping up, hey, let me see what we got. I'm not finding much up here. Boom. Now you're already battling, right? But if he already knows what we're going with, that our expectations are, and it's not my expectations, it's the homeowner's expectation. He knows that if we don't go off this inspection, now guys, and I'm not making up stupid stuff. I'm not going like, hey, this crack in the downspout is from a hailstorm that's easily mechanical. No, you know what hail looks like. Train yourself, educate yourself, but have it down. And I always, always, always leave one or two things off that scope assessment. And the reason why is if I ever need to do a dreaded word, re-inspection, right? They're not a re-inspections, we're just finishing the inspection is all we're doing. That's how you get it. Anybody have troubles with State Farm getting a re-inspection? Raise your hand, it's fine. The reason you're having troubles getting a re-inspection with State Farm is because you're calling it a what? A re-inspection. Don't call it a re-inspection. All you're doing is finalizing the initial inspection. By finalizing the initial inspection, they have to come back out if there's more damage that wasn't documented. By law, they have to come back out. So never use the word. You should take that out of your vocabulary, re-inspection. Don't ever use that. Because they're not going to go by that. They have to finalize the inspection. Anybody else? No other? Oh, go ahead.
Scope assessment, are you talking like a exactament? You talking just like a handwritten?
No exact, nope. It's a handwritten scope assessment, but I've got a form that if you DM me, here I've got I'll send you what I use. Where's my, that was me. I should have my QR code. If you QR code me and you want a scope assessment, I'll send you exactly what I use. Obviously modify it to what you're gonna use, but if you send that to me? Yeah, well, yeah, I don't care. Use whatever you want. It works for me. And yeah, send it over to me. And the reason I do that is because it's providing value to the homeowner. Now, the question I always get asked that we're not asking here, but a question I always get asked is, do I give that scope assessment to the homeowner? What do you think? No. Why don't I give that to the homeowner? They'll give it to somebody else, or they don't need what? They don't need me anymore. So when I sign that homeowner up, I say, so when again, you're assuming the sale. So when I meet your insurance adjuster, what I'm going to do is have a copy of this scope assessment. I'm going to hand it to the insurance adjuster, and this is what our expectations are to get covered. Perfect. What's the next step? Next step, Mrs. Jones, is I'm going to give you my insurance agreement form. That's going to give me permission to meet that adjuster and hand him that scope assessment and go through the damages with them. And then once we get it approved, we'll sit down and go through colors and things like that, and that's when we'll answer any other questions you may have. Perfect. Here's the scope, and I have it all pre-filled. Do any of you pre-fill your contingencies? You should. You should have your contingencies all pre-filled. Because remember, you're what? Assuming the sale. If you sit there and you have to fill out everything with the homeowner right next to you, you're giving what in their brain? Doubt. If you got everything pre-filled, you've already assumed the sale. They know you assumed the sale because all their shit's filled out, right? This is just a formality now. Boom, they sign it up, no problem. Right? That's formality now. And that's all sales, and that's all things I've learned in 20 plus years, but there's so many techniques, nuggets, tactics that I could help people out with that if they have questions, shoot it here. If you guys want any information, let me know. I do a monthly class, like I said, starting back up in February again because of holidays, that I get on and answer questions. We do questions on work-life, personal life balance. We get questions on, I bring different gurus in the industry in, have them help out. I actually had Mike Goldenstein on one and talked about code. If anything you guys want to know about code in this world of roofing, there ain't anybody that knows more about that. I've had Reggie Brock on, Mindset Clarity, unbelievable. John Cenac on, if you know who that is, he's fabulous. What else? I mean, that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any other questions? I mean, guys, there's a billion things to learn out there, and I'm here to help you out.
What's your approach to referrals?
Referrals? I love referrals, right? I work on referrals. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the first 4 years of me doing this job, I literally knocked doors from, well, I did my Watch Us Works at 7 a.m. I did knock doors from 7 till about 8 o'clock at night. And then I realized and I figured out the easiest way to do this is I've got to build those relationships up to where referrals are the number one thing, right? So every storm that hits, I try to pull out 100 people. And what I mean by that is I try to find 100 people that are going to be my helpers. And what I mean by that is I'm not asking the homeowner to work for me, but I'm implying that, hey, we're going to work together to get this taken care of, right? So referrals are huge. I ask referrals, my minimum on each homeowner is 5 times. And you know what's funny about that? That's funny that you brought that up. They did a study, and I don't know who did it, but they did a study. It was like 80% or 90% of sales reps don't even ask their homeowner for referrals. Isn't that crazy? I mean, what's easier to sign? A person you're knocking door on or a warm lead from a homeowner? And that's just common sense. You guys should be asking your homeowner 5 different times for referrals. You should be asking it the day you're signing them up. By the way, Mrs. Jones, it'd be much easier if you know your next door neighbor. Boom, 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 boom. Walk your way down. I mean, I mentioned it earlier about the cul-de-sac signing. Guys, my wife did this. She asked for referrals on the phone to a lady that was asking for an inspection. And by the time I got to that cul-de-sac, there was 8 people standing there. And those 8 things, I handed out 8 clipboards. And I did 1 sales pitch in front of 8 people to sign up all 8 people in one sitting. Ask for those referrals, because if a homeowner, you guys know those homeowners that you know, okay, this guy knows everybody in the neighborhood, right? All you gotta do is find that person. Find that person, and they take it as a joy. They take it as a joy that they're bringing you around to everybody. Let them have fun with it. Hey, John, thanks. Hey, I'll bring Subway next time, da-da-da, right? Oh my God, I got this buddy who lives over here. You will take care of him? Sure. Guys, have some fun with it. Make it a game. Anything else? Anybody? Well, that's the least amount of questions. That works perfect. All right, so the next guy that we're going to have up here is going to be Mike Goldenstein. Another big, see, there's so many things we haven't even touched on that we could. Like, for example, back when I first started, we took every retail job and we tried to turn it into what? An insurance job, right? Because that's where everything was. Guys, if you ain't adjusting to the way things are going now, most insurance jobs you're going to turn what? Into retail. And you better get ahead of the game. And getting ahead of that game, you better find a process, a system that works for you. And I'm not plugging or not telling whatever like that, but we use Referral at our company, and there's help set up the estimates. And Mike's going to touch a little bit on that. I'm going to send it over to Mike here. But if you guys have questions, concerns, or anything like that for me that you want to ask me, I'll be around all day today. Just come up and ask. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.